Wonder why I'm hot, got a cold heart, and I'm on it go, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. I go paint the picture like Mozart. I've been on my go talk. Lately how I'm coming, I got no flaws. They just wanna stop me, but I won't pause. The flow like the goat wall. I go make that money, make the dough fall. Yeah, I'm gon' shake it up and make the snow fall. Yeah, work with me and we gon' have to both ball. I'm trying with the Rari like a go-kart. Go, go, go. Ain't no one can stop it, yeah, you know I'm going up. Yeah. I feel like Giannis. Hold up, let's be honest. Need the bucks and all the comments. Perfect timing when I'm shining. They be mad that I'm still grinding. When they switch and I'm still solid. Getting paper like it's college. Or like on a pilot. Shorty mad cause now I'm popping. Ain't no way that I can stop it. Spread my wings and now I'm flying. Hit the slide and now I'm gliding. They so shocked that I didn't find it. How they not know what the time is when I've been on my go talk. Rappers want my feature but they always tryna lowball. I done picked it up just like a phone call. Wonder why I'm hot, got a cold heart, and I'm on it go, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. I go paint the picture like Mozart. I've been on my go talk. Lately how I'm coming, I got no flaws. They just wanna stop me but I won't pause. The flow like the goat wall. I know that they wanted what I got, let them rock, yeah. I tell them go get it when it's hot, don't stop, yeah. I've been down 10 since the drop. I've been heating up, I'm getting hot, got a pot, yeah. I'm gon' be a millionaire, I've been going silly, yeah. Top won't be the ceiling for me, thought that I'ma see you there. Glad that I went got the bag, it's alright, I never care. I'm gon' get the last lap, you gon' see me everywhere. They just mad to see that I could really be about it. All these rats and these racks, they see I be stylish. Started at the bottom, now the boy is on the rising. Haters going silent, ain't no one can stop it. I've been on my go talk. Rappers want my feature, but they always tryna lowball. I done picked it up just like a phone call. Wonder why I'm hot, got a cold heart, and I'm on it go, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. I go paint the picture like Mozart. I've been on my go talk. Lately how I'm coming, I got no flaws. They just wanna stop me, but I won't pause. The flow like the goat wall.
So I started from nothing. People in your circle will just get to the bluffing. Yeah, they always switch sides, so I came through the loving. No, I came through the loving, so they always switch sides, so I came through the loving. You know, to the dash now, ayy. So I started from nothing. I got money on my mind and I know that it's coming. I know people switch sides, so I came through the loving. When you down, they won't ride, everybody just bluffing. Now they hitting on my line, cause they see how I'm coming. And I'm finally doing fine, I've been counting these hundreds. And my baby gon' ride, she is not with the front. So I put in overtime, but look what I'm becoming. You can look me in my eyes, don't believe all the judging. So I do this for my people, we the best, you know. I got lots of problems, others stressed, you know. I'm just praying for the days, I'm counting decimals. I've been riding with my brothers, for the rest they hoes. I'm knowing I'ma make it, I just gotta be patient. I come from nothing, now I'm about to make a statement. Bitches probably want me, but they can't even face it. Ayy, no, they can't even face it. So my brothers better make it out the basement. If she for me, then she know there's no replacement. I be outside, she see that I'm dripping, little baby know that I'm fly. No love for my city, who thought I'd make it this high? I know that y'all fake and the real in disguise. I've been through the most, I'm holding all this penny side. These bitches would dump me, now I don't really gotta try. I'm stuck in all my habits, but I gotta have it. Spend a couple bands on a jacket. All this money on me, I keep stacking. Why do y'all acting? Why do y'all capping? Can't really say much, but I'm back up on my bullshit. You don't got it from my brothers, they with the movement. Keep shit blunt, you cross it, someone get ruthless. I don't got time for no drama, that shit is useless. Got no time for no bullshit, no time for a bitch. If you keep it real, best believe I never switch on you. All the money in the world, I won't switch on you. I could get you all the pearls, diamonds glitz on you. If I got the whole world, I be missing you. I could drip you in our money and Da Vinci too. Got the labels always calling cause we making moves. I ain't stopping till I got it and I swear that shit true. So my brothers better make it out the basement. If she for me, then she know there's no replacement. I been outside, she see that I'm dripping, little baby know that I'm fly. No love for my city, who thought I'd make it this high? I know that y'all fake and the real in disguise. I've been through the most, I'm holding all this penny side. These bitches will dump me, now I don't really gotta try. They gon' hate you when you down and I swear that shit true. They gon' hate you when you down and I swear that shit true. They gon' hate you when you down, but we still making moves. Yeah, yeah. You know the dash now, ayy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Brian Mansell Show. As always, I am your host, Brian Mansell. I've got a show called the Brian Mansell Show. I'm a sports media professional who's been in the industry now for a couple of years, and I'm here to talk sports. That's why we have this show. Here to interact with you guys and have a conversation about what's going on around the sports world. So, first of all, how are we doing on this amazing Wednesday afternoon? I mean, technically it's 11:57, so it's not really afternoon yet, 3 minutes away, but still. How are we doing today on this Tuesday afternoon? In the meantime, while I wait for you guys to respond, we have a bunch of topics to talk about today. Not too many sports we're going to go around, but we're going to do one new sport we haven't done yet this year, which is going to be college basketball. We're going to go into that a little bit with we're going to do the men's side, not the women's side, just for this one. And a lot of things happen. Even though, like every day we treat it like, oh, this happened in the NFL, it's not much to talk about. Well, there is always something to talk about. So let's go with the main topics today. Running it down from the top, we have the Rangers extending their ALCS lead last night to 2-0 on the Astros as they're going back to Arlington. So the Rangers have beaten the Astros in both games in Houston. Now they go to Arlington, back to their home ballpark, to try to close out the series. Can they do it in 4? Can they do it in 5? We will see. If they can't do it in 4 or 5, they're going back to Houston again. Gallen, the starting pitcher, the ace, the Cy Young candidate in the National League for the Arizona Diamondbacks, had another rough outing in the Game 1 of the NLCS. And that included losing to the Phillies. It got close, don't get me wrong, but the Phillies handled their business. The Diamondbacks lost. The Phillies are now up in the series 1-0. What does this mean for the rest of the series and as well as the pitching? Because today they're going to have to roll Merrill Kelly. So we're going to go into the whole thing and see how is the pitching outcome now affected by the fact that Gallen didn't do well in Game 1. We'll discuss. The Cowboys trampled the Chargers last night on Monday Night Football. At one point I had this prepared to be Chargers winning this because they were in control for a good amount of the game early. And then I come back to look at it later and I see the Cowboys completely just stomped all over them. So we'll go back and we'll see why the Cowboys were able to get this win. What does this mean for the Chargers moving forward? Is their playoff dreams already wiped away by this? We'll go through it and we'll try to figure that out ourselves. We're going to go through the opening week recap of everything that's happened in the NHL. I believe by this point every team's played at least 3 games by now. So we'll go through and see some early things we've noticed. Like what's really stood out in the group in the terms of the opening week where players who are playing to their weight, some of them who are a little slow coming out of the gate, teams are acting a little sluggish, teams that could be better, teams are overperforming. We'll go through all of it and just decide where does each team stand. And to close it out, we'll go over the men's basketball preseason top 25 rankings that have been released by the Associated Press. We're going to see who's too high, who's too low, who's overrated, who's underrated, and kind of figure out, a good feel for who are the best teams this year. And the ones to watch when March Madness comes around next year. But until then, we're going to get started here with the Rangers in the ALCS taking their lead 2-0. Before we get started, if you guys are new to the channel and you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, please consider subscribing to the channel because it's a long way in helping us grow further here on YouTube. And if you're watching this on Twitch, please consider giving us a follow. We don't do subscriptions on Twitch. We don't feel like you guys should have to pay money to get access to our content. Everything should be free and available to you because you are a fan, and it's not right to have to charge you guys to get this kind of stuff. So, again, thank you guys so much. If you give us a follow here on Twitch, it helps us get more exposure here in Twitch and in the community. So, again, thank you guys so much. It's much appreciated. Now, let's open it up, people, with the first piece of info. The The Rangers took on the Astros yesterday. Nathan Eovaldi taking them out against Framber Valdez. As we talked about yesterday on the show, when you're facing the Houston Astros, when you're facing the Rangers are a tough team. That can't be understated. The Rangers have always been a tough team. And their bats are really what's been the biggest story for them and the biggest help. Now, I can't say that their bats are the reason that they got so far. I can't only give him that credit, but I will say this. It definitely helped him yesterday. We mentioned on the show that Framber Valdez needed to have a clean game if he was going to beat them. If he was going to beat this team, he needs to have a clean game. As we're bringing up the little highlight screen here, for those who don't know, this is where we bring up our highlights for the game. So that this way you guys can see some highlights while I explain the topic. And here we are. Framber Valdez, people. He's up in the first inning here, up against the Rangers. And again, like we said, he needs to have a better outing if the Astros want a chance to win this game. And right here out the gate, the first pitch, Semien getting on base. The next pitch to Seager. He pops it up and it falls right into the gap in left field for another base hit. Now you got a man on first and second. It's only been 2 pitches. 2 pitches! And he's already got 2 guys on base. That's a rough start. That's a really rough start for this guy. Could be so much better. But here on base, now here's Robbie Grossman, who's going to hit one up to Valdez, who has trouble getting a hand of it, and he throws it. He misses Abreu at first base. That allows Semien to score. He's going to give him a 1-0 lead already. They've still yet to record an out. Valdez, you're going to see better here. He had to bobble it, try to reset, throw it over, and he just gets behind Abreu, and that allows the first run thanks to an error by the pitcher. But Adolis Garcia now has to come up to the plate, and Garcia swings. And he sends that to right for a base hit. That's going to score another run. It's a 2-0 lead now for Texas. Still no runs have been recorded. Still no outs have been recorded yet by Framber Valdez. This is not the start you needed. But here comes Mitch Garver, who sends this one into left as well for another base hit. That's going to score another run. So now you're at 3-0. Still 0 outs recorded by Framber Valdez. Now he's got 1 out here. Lau sends it into left. Coming around the bases is Garcia, and he's going to get in with ease. It's 4-0. A man on first and second with 1 out. It is 4-0 Texas. Valdez clearly shaken up. He able to get out of the jam, though. They go into the bottom of the second here where Yordan Alvarez is playing. He was apparently sick, dealing with a virus of some sort that was affecting him, upset stomach and stomach aches. But he's a sick man because he sends this one deep out to right into the second deck and helps the Astros get their first run of the game here. Another quick look. Beautiful swing. One of the most pure and beautiful swings you will see in terms of technique and visually in the MLB. This is what you get. So Eovaldi is on the mound for Texas. So that was the first run he gave up. Still bottom of the second here. Chas McCormick swings and hits this one beautifully to Young over there at third base. Josh Young. He's able to grab it, chip it over, and it's gotten out at first to get out of the inning. We go to the top of the third here. Rangers. Jonah Heim sends this one up and deep to left. There was no doubt about that one. That's a solo shot for Jonah Heim, the catcher, making his presence felt and known. They just get that run right back. So now it's 5-1. Another good hit here from Seager. That one's going to drop in, but a great play made in center field to save an extra base hit from McCormick. So we go to the bottom of the fourth. Here's Bregman sending this one deep to left. This one out of here at State Fair, right by the Chick-fil-A foul pole. If it would have hit it, that would have been free Chick-fil-A for everyone. Did he hit the foul pole? Yes, he did. He hit the foul pole. Free Chick-fil-A for everybody in the stands. We go to the bottom of the fifth. Jeremy Pena is now up to bat, trying to keep his team right here in the game. Man on first and second. He hits this one to left. Young misses it. Has to be saved by the shortstop, but it's too late. Bases are now loaded. It went just underneath his glove. He didn't get it low enough. But now comes to the plate is big, bad Yainer Diaz, and he strikes him out for the first out of this inning. Again, trying to get out of the jam. They left Eovaldi in. Here's Altuve. Swings the bat, misses. He strikes out. So now it's 2 outs. They're leaving Eovaldi in to fix this and get out of this. Bregman's up to the plate. He grounds this one to third. Great play by Young here to make up for it, and he gets the out. They get out of the bases-loaded jam. If they would have pulled Eovaldi, there was a good chance that Texas may have lost this game. They go into the top of the sixth now. 5-2 score. Taveras gets a hold of this one, sending it deep, and it's off the wall by the Chevrolet sign in right center. He's going for 3, and he's going to be finishing with the triple on that hit. And now Semien back to the plate again. He's having himself a great day, 2 for 3. This one, not too great. Lined right to the third baseman who gets the quick out, and that does it. That ends the inning, right to Bregman. So that's double play. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Astros still trying to find a way to get back in this. Tucker swings and misses. That's not going to get you back in the game. Jose Abreu, though, swings and he misses. But they have a man on first here. 5-2 game. Anything could happen at any point. Eovaldi could easily slip this one up. So he's reassessing his options. He sees Michael Brantley. Brantley swings and pops this one into left center just to get by the center fielder. That gets Alvarez to third. And now you've got a man on second, and he went for home. And Jordan was not tagged. So he is safe. It's a 5-3 game. Bottom of the 8th, Jordan. Remember, this man has a virus. He was throwing up with an upset stomach and cramps, and he's hit his second homer of the game. He has his second homer of the game. That's the most home runs in the first 6 games of the postseason since Giancarlo Stanton with the Yankees back in 2020. 6 of them up to this point. Aroldis Chapman is the one on the mound here, and he's going to get Brantley out. I mean, he's going to walk Brantley. And so the struggles we saw from Chapman lead the Rangers to have to call in their closer, Leclerc, who comes in. Young almost loses that one, and he's able to get the out at third. We go to the bottom of the 9th. They get out of that little jam. Leclerc stays in for this one. It's a 1-run game. Astros need something small to tie it. That's all they need. And it's Leclerc's job here to end it. The first pitch hit by Pena. The first at bat, a deep out at the warning track in right field for the Rangers. They're able to get the big out there at the warning track. Almost a homer. So that's the first out. They got 2 outs left to go. Yainer Diaz sends this over to first to get the out. That's 2 outs. Great play by Young again. So it's down to Altuve. And he swings and sends this deep to left center. But it's not going to be deep enough as the catch is made in center by the center fielder. And the Rangers come out with the big victory. They're going to take a 2-0 lead here on the Astros. And the Astros are able to lose here. And now they have to go to Arlington and try to get back in this series. And it's going to be a tall task for them. They're off today because it is the travel day, but they will be back tomorrow for the game. But once again, another example of the Rangers playing strong. But it comes down to one deciding factor for why Houston was in the situation they were in. They did a great job using their bats to get back in on Eovaldi. Valdez didn't even make it a full 3 innings. He was out after he didn't make it a full 3. But let's go through the box score a little bit and understand some more stats here. So you already saw the 4-piece dropped in the first inning by Texas. Again, the best performers of the day, Marcus Semien having a great day himself, 2 hits and 5 at-bats. You could also have Seager in there with a hit of his own. Everybody else had 1 or no hits on the day. The only person who had a major hit was Marcus Semien. The one who had multiple hits was him. In terms of pitching, great pitching from Eovaldi yesterday, despite the fact he gave 3 earned runs and 5 hits. So the 9 strikeouts, and they were confident enough in him to finish out the job and finish through 6 innings. They left him in. He was able to get out of a bases-loaded jam, another jam in the following inning to kind of work his way and help save the bullpen's arms. Now, there were a couple close moments, like, for example, Chapman giving up the homer. That was not intended. It ended up knocking him out of the game after only 8 pitches. And the Leclerc had to come in and save the day, which he was able to do. So they got very lucky. 24 pitches for Leclerc. They were able to get out of it, and Texas lock away the win. But for Valdez, which is the bigger story, Valdez didn't make it a full 3. He gave up 4 runs and 7 hits, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. A bad day for him. 64 pitches thrown by the 3rd inning. Didn't even finish the 3rd. Montero had to come in and take over for him. There was no other runs allowed by any of the Astros pitchers the rest of the game. There were no earned runs, shockingly. So, Montero, JP France, Matten, Abreu, and Presley, none of them gave up a run, apparently, an earned run. But there was another run score, which I'm trying to figure out here. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So, Jonah Hyman up homering to left in the top of the third, which I believe would count as against. It would count against Valdez. But that's the weird thing. I'm trying to figure out how that possibly works. I'm looking at the full play-by-play to kind of figure out why only 4 earned runs have been credited here to Valdez. Let's see. Top of the third. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one's definitely credited to Valdez. Oh, you know what it is? I think one of the runs wasn't credited to him because of the error made. Because of a fielding error by Valdez, I guess it wasn't registered as an earned run. They ruled it as an error. So because of that, I think that's why he has 4 earned runs. It should be 5. But he has 4. So it should be 5 earned runs for Texas for Valdez, but it says 4. I don't know why, but that's the case. 5-4 Texas victory here. Start off hot early. Astros slowly started to climb back, but Texas was able to hold them off long enough to escape Houston with another win. And so far, a sweep in Houston. So now Houston has to go on the road where they've been much better this year to try and beat the Rangers, who have been actually much better in their home ballpark as well. They have not been good on the road. They've been just as good on the road as the Astros have been at home, which is kind of weird. But both these teams are very good in their opposite places. Texas is good in Arlington. It's where they are the best. And the Astros are the better team on the road. So we'll see how things change, because for Game 3, which is tomorrow, 8:03 on FS1, Astros-Rangers, the matchup is Christian Javier and the postseason debut for Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer is yet to touch a mound here in the postseason, but he's expected to make his debut for Texas in the postseason tomorrow night. That's a big game because anything could happen. Max could have a cold arm and he could give up 4 or 5 runs and let the Astros go crazy. Or he could be lights out, dynamite, everything, going back to his form when he was with the Nationals and going absolutely crazy on everybody else. So a lot of questions here remain with Scherzer. We will see what he does. And that game will be tomorrow, once again, 8:03 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1 in Arlington, Texas, also known as Globe Life Field. A lot of questions with that one. We'll do more of a breakdown on that tomorrow. But we will do a breakdown on another game that happened. Arizona and Philly played yesterday. And I'm a little shocked that Zach Gallen really struggled. I really didn't think the struggles would entirely be that bad. But they got on him early. And I mean, they really made it hard for Gallen. He registers his first decisive loss of the postseason to Zach Wheeler. Wheeler pitched a great game. I'm going to say it now. And he deserves the full credit. He 100% played a great game. But here's where things get interesting, because when you go back and you think about the things that have been done so far in this postseason, the Phillies have not lost a game yet on the road. I mean, in their own home ballpark. And it's very clear with the Philly fanatic and all the beauty of baseball here, you see everything on display. This is a playoff ballpark. This is a player's ballpark right here, Citizens Bank Park. And all the players coming out were here and ready to go. Mr. Evan Longoria, who we don't know if he's going to be back after this season, if he's going to continue playing, but we'll see. The pitching matchup we need to talk about here. It was supposed to be Zach Gallen and Mr. Zach Wheeler, who was in the bullpen getting warmed up. So we go to the top of the first here. Corbin Carroll facing Wheeler to start. And the first pitch he takes is a broken bat hit into shallow left center, just past the second baseman's arms. So that brings up Ketel Marte with the man on first. He strikes out. Beautiful swing there. You see great placement by Wheeler on this pitch. Next up to the plate, you have Tommy Pham. Pham swings and he misses inside and low. And that's another strikeout right there for Zach Wheeler. And that brings on Christian Walker in the next spot. And he's just going to ground this softly to short. And Wheeler gets out of the inning. So we go to the bottom of the first. Gallen, lots of pressure on him in one of the hardest ballparks to play in. And on the first pitch of the bottom of the first to the Phillies, Gallen gives up a bomb to Schwarber, which opens up the scoring 1-0 for the Phillies. That was a no-doubter. No doubter. That crowd couldn't have been louder last night. So next up you have Harper. The next pitch. The second pitch of oh my gosh. Another homer. This one goes out of there. And that is a home run for Harper. Another solo shot. Again, you could see the crowd absolutely ecstatic about what happened with that hit. It was his 31st birthday yesterday too, so Harper pulling that out, blowing the candles out as he's coming around the bases. So Gallen faces Bohm next. Bohm pops it out. It's going to be 2 outs here for the Phils, and that brings on Mr. Bryson Stott, who gets it out to right, and it's Corbin Carroll's there to make the play. So it's 2-0 now. Phillies early lead. We're going into the second. Gurriel at the plate. He swings. He misses. A sweeper from Wheeler gets him down. The next pitch to Alec Thomas. He's able to ground out there to the second baseman. Wheeler gets out of it. 1-2-3 inning. Real quick. Broken bat. Just like the broken dreams. The Kelsey brothers were at the game, which apparently everybody was making a big deal about. And they had to mention Taylor Swift on the broadcast because, of course, they did. Well, the next up, you have GT Realmuto here in the bottom of the second. Quick strikeout from Gallen. But next up to the play is Nick Castellanos. And we all know the story with Castellanos. Things happen when he hits that ball. And let me tell you, things 100% happen because he hit this one deep as a no-doubter out. And that is now a 3-0 game for the Phillies. That's 3 homers in the first 2 innings given up by Zach Gallen. Not a start you want if you're the Dbacks. Castellanos made it look easy. And his son right there in the stand acting very excited. We go to the top of the third. Longoria strikes out on an inside pitch. Perdomo going down. Now Carroll's up. With 2 outs here. Corbin pops it up going down to the left foul line. And Bohm makes the play in foul territory to get out of that. So we go to the bottom of the third. Schwarber back to play homer the first time around. As he takes this slider. And that'll get him out the first time. Gallen starting to get his stuff together here. Trey Turner up to the plate. He swings. Sends this one well into right center. And it's a bouncer, so that's going to give him an extra base. He's at second now. All the Phillies guys are excited for this one as Harper's back at the plate. The pitch to him. He sends this one down into right field quickly, and that's going to score Trey Turner. And the Phillies are now at 4-0. What's going on with the Dbacks? What's going on with Gallen? Just when you thought he got his stuff together, it didn't go well. And right here, what we just missed was Bohm got hit by a pitch. It didn't look like it, but he got hit by a pitch. It grazed his elbow pad. So you got Bohm on. You got the bases loaded here for JT Realmuto with 1 out. They're able to flip the double play and get out of it on a great stretch by Christian Walker to complete that. And the D-backs get out of it without any more damage. So Wheeler comes back to the mound. Again, quick strikeout there. Another ground out to second from Tommy Pham. And Walker comes up and he strikes out. Wheeler, absolutely dynamite last night in those early innings. So we go to the bottom of the fourth. Brandon Marsh on base on first with 1 out. A hit by Rojas down the left field line, hugging the line. It's going to be a long, deep play for the left fielder, which I believe is Gurriel. And Rojas gets a double out of that. You got a man on second and third now, 1 out. Schwarber at the plate. What is Schwarber going to do here in the bottom of the fourth? Gallen again struggling throughout this game. The following pitch, he gets a nice little grounder to first. He's not able to hold it. He gets the out at first. He gets the out at home, and Marsh is out. But Schwarber safe at first base. Man is now, I believe, on first and third at this point. But once again, a review of that. Walker couldn't hold on to it, so he had to throw it to the catcher in order to make the play. And they got lucky that couldn't have been worse. If he makes that catch, Marsh doesn't run. But Turner now at the plate with the man on first and third and 2 outs. A little grounder to Walker, who runs it out, gets the tap at first, and we're out of the inning. No runs that time from the D-backs. But more challenges. Harper going to first here as we go to the bottom of the fifth. Bryson Stott showing bunts, but it ends up becoming a wild pitch. And that advances him to second. So with 2 outs here, this one's hit into left field. A play made by Gurriel as Harper's coming home, and he's going to be safe. They're both going to be safe. So Realmuto getting pushy there on the slide. He's safe. Another one scores. It's 5-0 Phillies. And Castellanos strikes out that time around. That ends the inning. It's 5-0 Phillies Wheeler has been dynamite through all of this. He hasn't made one mistake yet. Longoria sends this one into left and opens it up. Marsh making a great play. This was just out of the reach of Bohm, and he couldn't reel that one in. So it's a man on first now for Geraldo Perdomo as Wheeler sends this one. Oh, and Perdomo finally puts the first blemish on the board for Zach Wheeler. That's a 2-run homer out to right. It's 5-2 Phillies. The D-backs aren't dead yet, folks. The snakes are still slithering. And so Perdomo coming around celebrating with his buddies. Wheeler now has to get back in the zone. Pham fouls this one up. And Bohm makes the play. That ends the 6th inning for those D-backs. But again, great start for them. This next time around in the 7th, Dominguez is in now for Wheeler. And this one gets by him. A bad throw by Dominguez puts a man on first and third again. And it's still 5-2 D-backs, but now they've got a man in scoring position, and a homer will tie the game. And this here, for Sir Anthony Dominguez, will bring up Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who sends it to the second baseman. And Perdomo slides back to second to try and get there, but they initially rule a double play. So that would be 2 outs with a man on third. But they go for the review, and they realize that he touched the base before Harper was able to make the play. So Perdomo is safe. It's a man on first and third. And here comes another good hit. This one probably flying into right here. Caught by Castellanos. That's going to send the third base runner home. And that'll make it a 5-3 game for the Philadelphia Phillies. But they weren't able to get anything else there because in the top of the 8th, they've got Ketel Marte on base on first. Pham at the plate. Pham in a big high-pressure situation. He swings on this one, sends it right to the second baseman. Gets the quick out to Harper. And that ends the D-backs' chances of scoring there in the 8th. So now we are 3 outs away. They're down to their final 3. But let's now go back to the Phillies real quick and see what's going on with them. Marsh on first with 2 outs. A swing from Rojas goes right to the second baseman. Marte there to make the play. Gets it out to Walker. And now the D-backs are down to their last outs. We're going to the last half inning of the match here. On the mound is Craig Kimbrell here to close it out for the Phils. Gets the first out. Gets the first strikeout. This one on Christian Walker on big four-seam fastball. Next batter up walks. That's Gabriel Moreno, the catcher. So with a man on first, Gurriel comes up to the plate looking to tie this game up in any way he can. Can Gurriel give the Snakes any kind of hope? They're giving a little mound meeting here to Kimbrell to make sure they know what the strategy is here. But he gets a good hit to third. They flip it to second, and they get him out at first. Gurriel instead hits into a double play to end the game, and the Phillies take it in Philadelphia 5-3 to take the series lead. 1-0, people. That is what happened. That, in a nutshell, is the game. Let's go into the box score, right? Let's sit in the box score and let's talk about this a little bit more. First off, we're going to start with the actual final lines for the pitchers. Gallen only made it 5 innings, 8 hits and 5 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. Wheeler, 6 innings pitched, he had 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, no walks. A very good game for Wheeler for the most part. I'm sure he wishes he could have the home run back, but outside of that, he was lights out the whole game. Kimbrell gets the save. The bullpen started slipping a little bit, let the Diamondbacks hang around instead of closing it out, but it didn't matter in the end because the Phillies got the win. Best hitters of the day, anybody who got a hit for the Diamondbacks really was the best hitter. Carroll got a hit, Marte got a hit, Longoria got a hit, and Perdomo got a hit. Perdomo will probably be the hitter of the day, 1 for 3. That hit being a 2-run homer that opened up the scoring for the D-backs. That was back in the 6th inning. For Philly, I think the best hitter of the day is no doubt Bryce Harper. He had a phenomenal game himself, 2 for 3. One of them was a homer. Scored 2 runs and had 2 RBIs. He's been hitting like a machine so far. He's been picking up his pace. Trey Turner, too, deserves his flowers. 2 for 4, 1 run. No RBIs or home runs, but he was definitely on base a good amount of times. That's all you could ask for. So, Trey Turner and Bryce Harper anchor this unit. And now tonight, they play again. And tonight's matchup, I mentioned Merrill Kelly earlier pitching for the Diamondbacks. He's going up against Aaron Nola tonight. The two righties going up against each other for a big, big game. Nola hasn't been too great in this postseason. He has nothing to complain about. I mean, a 1.42 ERA is great in the postseason, but Merrill Kelly has nothing. He's given up no runs in the games he's played. So he has a big, big amount of pressure on him. He faced a Dodgers team and didn't allow a single run. He was lights out in that game. Over 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He was as dominant as could be. But this is a different team they're facing. This is a different unit. He doesn't understand what he's up against. He has a career .288 batting average allowed against these Phillies. One of the best hitters against him, I can't say Matt Strom, I believe that is a pitcher. Trey Turner has faced him the most times, 21 times. He has a .429 average against Kelly, and he has been hot all postseason. Expect a big game from Trey Turner against Merrill. 21 at-bats, he's allowed 9 hits to him, 3 of them being doubles, 6 RBIs. Never allowed a homer to Turner, but 3 walks and 3 strikeouts. Another guy who's hit well, Bryson Stott. Only 3 at-bats, but he's registered a hit, which was a triple. Kyle Schwarber, not really great. He's only registered 1 hit ever against him and walked once and struck out all other 4 times. JT Realmuto, another good name to watch. JT Realmuto, 3 hits and 9 at-bats against him in his career. 1 double, 1 homer, 3 RBIs, only struck out once. And Bryce Harper has registered a hit against Merrill Kelly in his career. 5 at-bats, he's allowed 1 hit. And 1 walk. So Kelly has a couple guys to watch for. If you guys are going to watch tonight, keep an eye out for Turner, Realmuto, and Harper. Those are the guys who have hit well against Kelly in their careers. Or at least well enough. As for Aaron Nola going up against the Dbacks, which is a very serious thing to consider here. Let's take a look at what Nola has done in his career, shall we? Against the Dbacks. The Dbacks have a .255 batting average against Nola, which just tells you how dominant Aaron has been in his career. But not this season. He hasn't been great this season. He could have been way better, but he could totally improve. He hasn't been bad this postseason. He's played a lot better. One of the best in the postseason to this point. The guys who've hit well against him in his career. Lourdes Gurriel, big name to watch. 2 hits and 6 at-bats faced against him, which includes a double, an RBI, and struck out 3 times. Evan Longoria, the aging wonder, in 8 at-bats, he's got a hit on him 3 times, 1 time for a double, and he struck out twice. Ketel Marte has registered a hit against him. The only person who hasn't recorded a hit is Pavin Smith, but I mean, I don't know if you got to worry about Pavin. I don't think they're going to use him anyway. But Christian Walker's done well against him. 7 at-bats, got a couple hits out of him, which included a double, and he struck out 2 times against him. Alec Thomas faced him twice, very small sample size, but he's registered a hit, which was a double and an RBI, and struck out the other time he faced him. Tommy Pham has not hit well in his career against Aaron Nola. He's registered 1, but in 9 at-bats, and he struck out 3 times. So this will be a rough night for Tommy. Geraldo Perdomo, 1 hit in 3 at-bats, which includes an RBI. He's walked once. He's never struck out. Gabriel Moreno has hit well against Nola in his career. Again, 3 at-bats is a small sample size, but 2 hits in those 3 at-bats, 1 RBI, 1 time he struck out. Marte hasn't been great against Nola. 6 at-bats, he's got 1 hit off of him, which was a homer for 3 runs, and he struck out twice. So the guys to watch tonight are Gurriel and Longoria as the main people. Keep an eye out as well for Moreno. Maybe Alec Thomas continues to build. Same thing could maybe be said for Christian Walker. So those would be the guys to watch tonight in this matchups. This would be what you got to watch. So if I'm giving a prediction for this one, I think the Snakes can get back into it with Merrill Kelly. Do I think they're going to win, though? If I'm being completely honest to myself and not letting my fandom and what I want to happen affect my judgment, the Phillies will win this in another nail-biter. Nola gets the win. Kelly gets the loss. He'll allow his first runs of the year in this postseason. First runs of the postseason here in this game. And it's going to cost the Diamondbacks the game. The Phillies are going to take a 2-0 series lead going back to Arizona. That will happen tonight. Again, this game is 8:07 Eastern on TBS. Phillies again lead this series 1-0. And that brings us into our next topic, Monday Night Football. The Cowboys last night trampled the Chargers. I lost my fantasy matchup. It just was not a good night. The Cowboys won, and I lost both of my fantasy games. So I'm just not happy. But I guess there's a brighter side to things. We'll see. Dak Prescott looked like a real quarterback last night. I can't lie to you. 21 of 30, 272 and a touchdown. For Herbert, 22 of 37, 227. 2 touchdowns, interception. He didn't have his best game, Herbert. He was getting lit up a couple times. He struggled a bit, but he was trying to make the most of it. Rushing yards yesterday, big thing to note. Dak Prescott led the team in rushing yards, surprisingly. 7 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. Pollard only had 15 for 30. Eckler had a rough game himself in his first game back. 14 carries for only 27 yards on the ground. That's not a good performance. Receiving-wise, top receiver of the day was clearly CeeDee Lamb. 7 receptions for 117 yards, no touchdowns. Keenan Allen was the leading for LA with 85 yards on 7 catches with a touchdown. So cool, some cool production there. And for Pollard, he had over 100 all-purpose yards, 80 receiving yards on 6 catches. So combine that, he's got 110 all-purpose. Eckler, on the other hand, was about, it looks to be 62. He had 62 total yards yesterday. He had 4 catches for 35, no touchdowns as well. There was one fumble in the game. Jalen Tolbert fumbled for Dallas, which allowed LA to recover, which I believe the name is Amin Ogbongbemiga. I can't pronounce that name. It's Ogbongbemiga. Ogbongbemiga. I'm just going to say Bemiga because I don't want it to sound too close to something else. But defensively, yesterday, the good game's performance was by LA. They got 5 sacks on Dallas, which was actually very impressive. 2 of them came from Morgan Fox, 1 from Nick Williams, 1 from SJD, Sebastian Joseph Day, 1 for Khalil Mack. So good games for all those guys defensively. Leading tackle was Kenneth Murray with 9 totals, 8 of them being solo and a tackle for loss. On the Dallas side, the only person registered a sack was Micah Parsons once. And the leading tackle was Damon Clark with 8 total tackles, 7 of them being solo with the QB hit. He had himself a good game. So did Parsons. Nothing to complain about. There was an interception thrown by Herbert. That one was by Stephon Gilmore on a bad throw. And outside of that, yeah, this was a good game for Dallas. I mean, they were going back and forth the majority of the game. It just wasn't looking great. And Herbert was playing a great game for the most part until that final drive. That final drive where they needed to really win the game and needed a touchdown to win or field goal to tie it. The Chargers threw an interception, the only interception of the game, by Herbert to Gilmore. It was a bad interception, and that called it. And that ended the game. Now, if you go back to the recap in the game cast, you look at some of the notes. Dallas had more yardage. They had the same amount of turnovers. Chargers had more time of possession. In terms of completed drives, Dallas completed more of them, which, again, I said has always been what determines how the game goes. Who can complete more drives, finish them, and get them done. But if you get that, dominate time of possession, and control turnovers, you don't lose those games, ever. It seldom happens that if you get all 3 of those factors, you lose a game. And again, this was the fact. LA split on the turnovers. They had the time possession by a little bit. It was pretty much even, though. If I'm being honest with you, it was pretty much even. It was like 30 minutes and 8 seconds for Chargers compared to 29 minutes and 52 seconds for Dallas. That's about a 16-second discrepancy. So to me, it's like, I don't know. But in the end, nevertheless, the Cowboys win this game, completed more drives, had more control. It started out with Keenan Allen's touchdown from Herbert. That got them right in the game really quickly, but Dak responded well and had an 18-yard rushing touchdown, shockingly. So 7-7 was the score. In the second quarter, Aubrey, as time expired, took the lead with a 32-yard field goal to make it 10-7. And then Dicker, the kicker, in the third quarter for the Chargers, tied up at 10 with a 24-yarder. And in the fourth quarter, things heated up. Cooks got a quick touchdown pass from Dak Prescott, a 2-yarder, made it 17-10. Chargers went down the field, responded. Gerald Everett got a 1-yard passing touchdown from Justin Herbert, which tied the game up at 17. And then with 2:19 on the clock, after wasting all that time, Dallas goes down the field and gets the field goal range for already kick a 39-yarder to make it 20-17. So the Cowboys take that lead. The Chargers get the ball back and fail to score. They throw an interception, and Herbert fails to get the win for the Chargers. The Chargers fall to 2-3, and the Cowboys are at 4-2, now only a game back from the Philadelphia Eagles. You can say all you want about the Cowboys, but they are acting like a playoff team right now, and that is something to note. You have to watch them. If the Eagles continue to stumble, the Cowboys can make up ground. We said it yesterday that the Cowboys needed to win this game if they wanted to stay alive in this division race. And they did just that. Now, they got to play the Rams next week. Is it next week? No, they have a week off. Dallas is off this week. So then they got to play the Rams next week. They'll play the Rams next week. And then they got the Eagles on November 5th. So the next two, they need to win the next game against the Rams. They got to hope the Eagles lose some kind of game in between there so that they can make up the ground and have a decisive game against the Eagles. If they beat the Eagles and they're tied, oh boy, Dallas could win the division at that point. You beat the Eagles? Yeah, you can get crowned, buddy. You can absolutely get crowned. Now, I'm going back here for a second. Look at the Eagles' schedule just to see what's going on with them. This weekend, they're playing the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. Big game to note there. Dolphins, Eagles, Sunday Night Football. If the Eagles somehow drop this game and then they beat the Commanders, the Cowboys are in perfect shape. They'll be tied going into it because they're going to have to beat the Rams and they're going to have the advantage, and a win over the Eagles would absolutely put them over the top. So what they need is a Dolphins victory over the Eagles this weekend in order for that to change. So we will see. We'll go through the picks and everything. But speaking of picks, right? Let's go through those real quick. See how we did this weekend. So I'm marking down the final games real quick just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Just to make sure. Because according to my NFL scores, I might have been pretty wrong on some things. So I'm just confirming some things real quick. See the Raiders game. Raiders did win. Let's check out the game with the Rams. Did the Rams win their game? Yes, they did. So this weekend, we lost a total of 4 games. Only. The entire weekend. Great week for us in terms of picks. 12-4 was our record this week. 12-4. In the Thursday Night Football game, I had called it. I had said that the... who played on Thursday? I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to get it. Broncos-Chiefs. Broncos-Chiefs. I had known the Chiefs were going to win that game. It was kind of clear as day. Broncos never stood a chance. They're just not a good team in general. They're going to probably end up with number 1 overall pick at this rate. But the Chiefs won the game pretty clearly, so that was a 1-0 for us. There are other picks we had for the day. The Lions and Bucks at 4 o'clock. I picked the Lions to win. I went against my Bucks. I said that the Lions, as a unit, are a better team. Tampa will be exposed to this unit. If they win, great. We know they're for real. If they lose, we know that there's no seriousness in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the NFC South in general. And I was right. The Lions won that one 20-6, so we're at 2-0. Ravens-Titans. Took the Ravens in London. Went exactly that way. A little bit of a nightmare at the end from Lamar Jackson and the offense, but they're able to hold off the Titans thanks to, unfortunately, an injury to Ryan Tannehill that would likely sideline him for the rest of the year. So Ravens-Titans, I took the Ravens. That is a win. We're at 3-0. Washington and Atlanta. The Commanders and the Falcons. 24-16 was the final score in favor of the Commanders. I just felt like the Commanders needed a bounce-back game. They were sliding. They needed a big win to stay alive here in their hope for playoffs. And they did just that. So now they're at a 500 again. And the Falcons are realizing, oh, maybe Desmond Ritter's not that guy. Again, like I said in my coaching video, you can't lose to an XFL quarterback. He plays like an XFL quarterback. So, Commanders win this one. We're at 4-0 at this point. Vikings-Bears. I had the Vikings. I felt like the Bears were getting weaker and weaker every week. It felt like it was a time to give the Vikings a little bit of rhythm here. They did find that rhythm, and the Vikings are 2-4 now after beating the Bears 19-13. Prayers up to Justin Fields. Hopefully he's back soon. He did dislocate his thumb. So he's going to miss this week's game for Chicago. It'll be Tyson Bagent taking the reins, the rookie. And that's going to put us at 5-0 at this point. Seahawks and Bengals. I took Cincinnati to beat Seattle here. It felt kind of real here that Cincinnati was going to be the good team. I felt like they were building up a good rhythm. Geno Smith really has been underperforming where he should be. So I felt Burrow was going to keep getting better as Geno continues to sputter. So I went with the Bengals. They did win this game 17-13. So that there is at 6-0. Then the game that everybody got wrong, 49ers and Browns. Yeah, nobody thought the Browns were winning this game. No offense. Nobody thought they were winning. Defense keeps you in games. Brock Purdy finally came down to reality and loses his first regular season game since taking over for Jimmy Garoppolo last year. So I get that pick wrong, and I'm sure everybody in America did too. Niners lose. The Houston Texans took on the Saints and won that one 20-13, and I picked the Texans to win that one. Again, if you guys don't believe me, we have a whole post with all the information on it. This is not a joke. I have it all saved, written here from these games. This is not a joke. This is all legit. I did this all on Friday when we did our stream, so I had it all written down and recorded that we knew what we picked. The Texans win this one 20-13. Derek Carr didn't look great. Still threw for 353, but it's a win overall. Texans got the win. That's a win for us. We'll take it. We've only got one loss up to this point. We are 7-1 in these picks. Kind of crazy to think about. The Panthers and the Dolphins. In this game, I took the Dolphins, and it definitely paid off because the Panthers only scored half the points of the Dolphins, which was 21, and the Dolphins scored 42. So the Dolphins clearly washed them. Bryce Young didn't look bad, but he's been looking bad all year, so the Dolphins' defense just not that good if Panthers are putting up 21. I don't know. Just something to think about. Colts, Jaguars. I took the Jags in this one. I felt like with the Colts, there's uncertainty with Minshew. I know it was a revenge game for Gardner, but he's like an iffy quarterback. He's hot, he's cold, he's hot, he's cold. He was definitely cold this game. 3 interceptions. Jaguars capitalized. 37-20 was the final score of that one. So with those 2 victories added on now, we're talking about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9-1. We're at 9-1 at this point, going against Patriots Raiders. I'm not making the mistake I made the week before when I picked the Patriots to beat the Saints. I'm not falling for it again. The Patriots are never getting a pick from me again. They're not getting a pick from me again this season. The Raiders win this one. I picked the Raiders. 21-17 victory. Even without Jimmy Garoppolo, who's dealing with a back injury, had to be sent to a hospital, Brian Hoyer beat them. That's enough said. Brian Hoyer beat them. Raiders win. I win. 10-1 at this point. Cardinals and Rams. Pick the Rams to win this one. I don't trust the Cardinals with any as far as I could throw them. They're good at staying in games, but then losing it in the end. And that's always what happens. This time they got blown out, 26-9. So not much of a difference here. The Rams win this. So now we're in a really good spot with the Rams victory. We go to the Eagles and the Jets. Obviously, I lost this one. Obviously. I don't think I trusted the Jets in any capacity to beat the Eagles. I had a sliver of hope that Zach Wilson could play well. But I didn't expect the Jets defense with no secondary to go in there and force 3 interceptions on Jalen Hurts. That was nuts. Jets deserve this win. I'm okay with getting a loss here. Jets win. I lose. That's the second loss so far of the week. Giants Bills Sunday night football. Bills were my pick. I feel like the Giants were just not going to do the job that they needed to do to be able to pull off an upset. They didn't have the resources available or the coaching to do it. And I was right. The offensive play calling was abysmal. The defense was great. But the Bills pulled away in the fourth quarter, put up 14 points, and sank the Giants completely. So, picked Buffalo. Buffalo won. Close, but they won. And Monday Night Football, Cowboys, Chargers. I picked the Chargers to win on stream yesterday. That did not go in my favor. The Chargers did end up losing this game by 3. They're now 2-3. Cowboys are 4-2. So that's another loss. But in total, we recorded, we only lost 3 games the whole week actually. So we went 13-3. We lost 3 games. That's actually wild. We lost 3. San Fran, Philly, and LA. Those are the picks. So 3 losses and 13 victories. I could not have been happy with the results. Hopefully this trend continues after this week, Hopefully it stays this way. No promises. But this leads us into the NHL opening week recap. We got to go over what happened in the NHL this week. A lot of questions to ask here and to start considering here. What does it look like for the first few weeks? How are we looking in hockey, Like, it's a good question to ask ourselves. So let's go through it. So far, we're at an interesting point where I think not every team has played 3 games. Some have only played 1, shockingly. But we do have, for the most part, majority of teams have either played 2 or 3 games. So we'll go through a couple teams and see who's really played really well at this point and who's not playing well. Overperformed, underperformed. Can they snap out of it? Let's talk about it. Let's start with my squad, the Florida Panthers. They are down already. They played 3 games. They're 1-2. They have lost 2 games, won 1. So they have 2 points. They're at the bottom of the board. The only team with worse points is Buffalo, who has none. Buffalo is the big surprise so far because a lot of expectations were here for Buffalo entering from this offseason, and they still have not won a game yet. Their goal differential is at a -5. So they're going to wake up for it soon. Can they wake up? Yeah, there's like 80 games left to play. They'll be fine. Florida 1-2. Again, everything's going to be the same thing I'm going to say for all these teams. It's still 79 or 80 games left to play. They're fine. They'll be okay. I'm not concerned with them. But with the Panthers, the defensemen being out, they don't have Ekblad, and they don't have Montour. And they don't have Benny. So they're really, they don't have Ben. And they're really hurting. So they're trying everything they can to get good offensively to make up for the defense. So that's what it's all down to for them. They need to score a lot to prevent the defensive errors from deciding games. Last night, they had a 4-0 lead on the Devils. The Devils scored 3 goals in the third period. And they almost came back and won. That's what I'm talking about. They need to keep scoring because the defense is not where it needs to be. A team that's doing really well to start, the Bruins, 2 games so far, won both of them. They're at 4 points at the top of the leaderboard. Same thing can be said for Toronto, who's lost 1, but they've won 2. Ottawa playing above their weight as well, same as Detroit. But again, the early starts could always lead to late collapses. It always happens that way. In the Metropolitan, the thing to note, the Rangers 2-1. They've only lost 1 game, but they've won 2. The Hurricanes also 2-1. And same thing for Pittsburgh, 2-1. All 3 of those teams playing where they need to be. The Devils, not so much. They're 1-1-1. Can't be mad, though. You got 1 victory. The Islanders have only played 1 game, so hard to decide them, but they did win. Flyers have played 2. They're 1-1. The Blue Jackets, as expected, are at the bottom, 1-2. So that's expected. But the only team that's surprising so far, really, in this division is, I'm going to say it's probably the Rangers. I expect them to be a little bit worse, but they're doing well. So far, I can't complain. Their goal differential is at a +3. So defensively, they're not great, but offensively, they're better. So it's fine. Nothing to complain about yet. In the West, the top team right now is the Avalanche and the Blackhawks. Go make sense of that. Chicago playing very well to start. They played 4 games, 2 wins, 2 losses. Can't complain. They're doing a lot better than people thought. So I'm okay with that. Chicago, right there, looking good. They're playing it where they should be, maybe a little bit over. Colorado, 2 wins, no losses. They're expected to be the juggernaut that comes out of the West this year. It's going to be a repeat of 2 years ago, supposedly. The Blues actually doing pretty well themselves, too. Haven't lost yet. They had an overtime loss and a victory in 2 games so far. So it's 3 points for them. They're still waiting for their first official regulation loss. Same thing can be said for the Dallas Stars, who have only played 1 game, but won that game. And I think the team that's kind of surprised me a little bit early is the Predators. They have been considered the team that would be the worst of the group. They're 1-2, and they are playing like the worst of the group, so a little bit surprising there, but also not at the same time. And in the Pacific for the Western Conference, the Vegas Golden Knights, 3 games, 3 wins, as expected, dominant. The Vancouver Canucks, not expected. 2 games, both victories, no losses recorded yet. They are playing well above their weight. Goal differential at +8. Allowed 4, but scored 12. Those 2 games they played too weren't pushover games. They were back-to-backs against the Oilers, and they beat them twice. The opener, 8-1 in favor of Vancouver. In the second one in Edmonton, 4-3 victory. They are not a joke. They are playing, and they're here to stay at the moment. Again, very early. Things could change, but right now, they're not looking too good for Edmonton. They haven't won a game yet, so not looking good for Edmonton. But the Canucks playing really well. That is something to note. I don't know if it's going to be consistent, if it's going to stay that way, but they're playing at a decent enough level where it's something to monitor. That's how I'll put it. And then 3 teams at the bottom also keep an eye on: the Kraken, the Kings, and the Sharks, all not playing too great so far to open. Kraken played 3 games, still haven't recorded their first win of the season yet. Did they fall back down to earth, back to their original opening season? We're going to have to find that out later in the year. Now, in the terms of the stats so far, the top people, as expected in terms of points, Auston Matthews leading the way in a big tie, though. It's actually a pretty significant tie. It's about a 7-man tie at the top spot. Jack Hughes with 6 points. Evgeny Malkin with 6 points. Tavares with 6 points. Ginsel, or whatever you want to call him, for Pittsburgh, 6 points. Nylander, 6 points. Auston Matthews, 6 points. And Elias Pettersson with 6 himself for Vancouver. After that's everybody else. So, again, really good performance so far, points-wise. In terms of goals, your goal leader by far, without debate, is Auston Matthews with 6 goals of his own, which is why he has 6 points. In the ties for the second spot, though, a couple names come out and stand out. Chris Kreider in a 4-way tie with Brooke Boeser for Vancouver. Brady Tkachuk and Teuvo Teravainen for the Carolina Hurricanes, shockingly enough. Let's also look at the assists, who's been dominating the assist category. John Tavares in a 3-way tie with Ginsel from Pittsburgh and Elias Pettersson for Vancouver. That is the 3-way tie in first. In terms of shots taken, who has taken the most shots? Auston Matthews, followed by Connor Bedard, the rookie, with 20. And then a tie in third between Nathan McKinnon and Dylan Larkin with 18. Very interesting to see. In terms of face-off percentage, it's an important number I like to look at in terms of how many times you get involved in a face-off. So let's see face-offs won. We'll do that so far. In terms of who's won the most face-offs up to this point, that belongs to Calgary's Elias Lindholm, followed by Sidney Crosby and Jordan Staal. Those 3 have been very good so far in that aspect. In terms of the actual percentage with the big number to me would be 10 or more. With 10 or more appearances in a face-off with victories here, the highest percentage of face-off wins is John Gabriel Pageau for the New York Islanders with 83.3, followed by what looks to be Pius Suter for Vancouver with 78.3% in 18 face-offs. Then followed by Nick Bjugstad for Arizona, the Coyotes. 20 appearances in a face-off. He's at 69%. He's done very well. Very well. Nothing to complain about from him. He has been very active in that aspect. He's won 20 face-offs and lost 9 of them. That's very good, honestly. And in terms of the goalies up to this point, this is also important to note who has been very good in terms of also shots faced. I'm watching all of that. So far the goalie that's faced the most shots is Sergei Bobrovsky with 89 shots, followed by Jacob Markstrom with 88. And then Yus Saros with 87. Now, in terms of goals allowed per game, we're going to go with the least so far. That belongs to Mackenzie Blackwood of the San Jose Sharks. 52 shots attempted. Again, he's faced 52 shots, allowed only 1 goal. That's a .981 save percentage. Very good for him up to this point. But I think this time on ice is also important. Who's seen the most time on the ice and has been playing well as a result of it? Let's take a look at it. Markstrom for Calgary had the most time on the ice. He's faced 88 shots and allowed 9 goals, which is an .898. Not too great, honestly. But again, what do you expect? They've played some tough teams early. Igor Shesterkin faced 73 shots, 7 goals allowed, .904 save percentage. Not great either for him, but definitely will get better. It's about average. Bobrovsky, not at all a good start. 89 shot attempts, 10 of them were allowed. That's an .888. Yus Saros has been pretty good too. He's probably been one of the best of the time. 87 shots faced, 7 goals allowed, .920 save percentage. Jordan Binnington, another one. He's had 65 shots faced, 2 goals allowed only for a .969 save percentage. He's been good outright to start. Something to note here for the Blues. But continuing on the save percentage trend in terms of goals faced, I will not give James Raymer from Detroit any credit because he only had 23 shots faced so far in 60 minutes on the ice. So we're going to wait on that. But other guys who've done really well. Mackenzie Blackwood stands out. Bennington's done well. Aiden Hill's done good. And Arvid Soderblom for Chicago has been very good. You could also add into the group Alexander Georgiev for Colorado. And I also have the man from Toronto, Ilya Samsonov. I was hoping he'd be playing better, but apparently he's not been good. He's definitely struggled out the gate. He is at an .839 save percentage, not too great. And I said Hellebuck for Winnipeg should be better as well. He's at an .852. So the two guys I expect to be playing well out the gate, they're not playing well. So far, the top goalie at this point through the first few games, I'm going to go off also games played, has been Bennington and Aiden Hill. They've done very well to start in terms of save percentage and goals allowed. They've been good. So I can't complain about either one of them. They've probably been the best guys up to this point. Very clearly. So that's it for their save percentages and everything. That's all the numbers you have to know at the moment. Again, everything's really early, but that's a quick summary of what's going on. Tonight's games, I have updated in the tickers. So you guys can see it there. So Vancouver and Philly, 6 o'clock Eastern on ESPN Plus and NHL Power Play. Specifically, if you guys have regional networks, I'm going to try to get you what games they'll be on in the regional markets. So I'm going to see now if I can find out where that would be. So I'm going to go to NHL.com and I'll try to get you guys the times if you're trying to watch some hockey tonight. And it's regional where you can watch these games because that's important. I know you guys want to see it. So 6 o'clock, Vancouver and Philly. NBC Sports would probably be it, probably Sports Philly. NBC Sports Philly would be the place to watch this game if you live in Philly. If you're in Vancouver, I'm assuming you'll probably be on Sportsnet, probably. I mean, that's usually how I always know. If it's in Canada, it's probably a Sportsnet game. But NBC Sports Philly has Canucks Flyers. For the Wild and Canadians at 7 o'clock Eastern in Montreal. This one will be on BSN or BS Wisconsin. So there's either you're going to get it looks like that's the BSN. I got to remember which network that is. Which sports network is BSN? Let me get that real quick. BSN Sports is I don't remember what that is. I can't remember the exact name of it, but if you live in the region, you probably know what it is. BSN or BSWIX is going to have the game. 7:30 Eastern on ESPN is the Lightning and the Sabres. Sabres looking to get their first victory of the season. They're facing off against the Lightning. They are favored in this game. Shock. I'm trying to process how still. 7:30 Eastern. MSG Sports Network for the New York Islanders against the Coyotes. It will be in New York. The other team will be Scripps. That'll be for Arizona probably. Their market. Okay, BS, I got it. That's Bally Sports. BS is Bally Sports. So we got Bally Sports North or Bally Sports Wisconsin. That'll be for the hockey games tonight. For Wild and Canadians. For Oilers and Predators at 8 o'clock Eastern, Bally Sports South will be broadcasting this one. Edmonton versus Nashville. 8 o'clock Eastern, Kings, Jets. Kings looking for their first win of the year over the Jets in Winnipeg. This one will be on Bally Sports West. 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, Avalanche Kraken. The Kraken still seeking their first win. This will be their fourth game played this year so far. They need a big win here, and they got to do it against the Avalanche. This one will be on ESPN. Carolina Hurricanes against the San Jose Sharks. Sharks also looking for their first win. They're going to have to do it in San Jose, and that'll be on NBC Sports California or Bally Sports South. 10:30 Eastern. And at 10:30 Eastern for Vegas, that'll be the Stars versus the Knights. That'll be on Bally Sports Southwest or Scripps. 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All depends on the region you live in. But a good amount of these games will be on either Bally or on ESPN. Or if you're a Coyotes Islanders person, that'll be on MSG. And that's that for that recap. Now we got to go into the final segment so we can wrap up for the show today. I'm trying to make this as quick as possible so we can get out of here at a decent time. So, men's college basketball, we have the rankings in now. They're here. They're finally ready to be seen. Let's take a look at those now as I pull them up. These are our rankings, people. College basketball rankings in order. We're going to start here in the men's college basketball ranking. Let's go with the top 25. Number one consensus team at the moment is the Kansas Jayhawks in the coaches poll and in the AP. Now, it's not a unanimous number one, but they have the majority vote, so they are the number one team. Now, interestingly enough, which I've been noticing, I'm going to do this in a sec. Sorry about that, folks. I'm going to see if that's still on the screen. No, it's not. Okay. So, interestingly enough, with Kansas being the number one, right? Am I okay with that? I have to say yes. I think Kansas is absolutely the team to beat this year. A lot of people didn't believe that. But let's see who's considered overrated or underrated in this list. So as you see, Kansas number one, Duke number two, Purdue number three, and Michigan's number four. So that's your final four at the moment, is those four squads. Followed by Marquette at 5, which I'm even shocked they're that high. I'm shocked they're high. UConn, Houston, Creighton, Tennessee, and Florida Atlantic. That is your top 10. Now, let's sort through that top 10 and see what we think here of like overrated squads. Once again, in the AP top 25, as you guys already heard my reaction, I feel like Marquette being at number 5 is a little bit of a stretch. I don't know about them being at number 5. Coaches pull over them at 7. Look, they had a 29-win season last year under Shaka Smart, who was in their second year. And it was one of the most high-octane offenses in college basketball. That cannot be denied by any metric. And while Tyler Kolek and Cam Jones are, both back for Marquette, there are two key pieces that from the roster that's pretty much almost entirely the same. So if it's almost the same roster, teams are more prepared for you in that aspect. I mean, losing Omax Prosper is, that's kind of big, and it's a little unspoken of, is how I'm going to put it. They don't have him. And not having him on the roster while running back with the same team isn't going to help Marquette in any kind of way. Overrated is a lot of heavy lifting here, I think, for this term. At number 5 seems high. Would I take him out of the top 10? Probably, but not too far down. I would probably put them at like number 11 or 12. I think Marquette, again, they're not a bad unit. I just don't think they're worthy of a number 5 right now. They still got some things to prove. If they're going to be running back the same team with one of their stars gone, I can't respectfully put them in the top 10. Because you can't just run back the same squad and expect to do the same things every year. It doesn't work that way. I can't remember the last time Marquette was considered a real threat to win a national championship. And it's just not going to happen. So I got them out just outside the top 10. They're still a strong team, don't get me wrong, but they're like number 11 or 12 to me. To me, they're 11 or 12. Another team in this top 10 I'm considering here is Tennessee at number 9. We do this every year with Tennessee at this point. They're going to have one of the best defenses in college basketball. That's no doubt. They're a good college team. They're a good defensive team. That's for sure. They're a good defensive team. But it's almost inevitable, like it is every year, that Tennessee is going to struggle scoring. They always do every single season. So I can't in good conscience be okay with putting them high and having egg on my face when they fall apart again. Because it always happens. Because with Julian Phillips and Oliver Kamoa gone, even with the returning guys like Ziegler and Jordan James and Vescovi, it's still not enough to keep them from being a team that just, they're just a boring squad. The defense is probably good. The offense is probably not going to be so good. And they're going to be like a mid to upper tier SEC team. I mean, I can't in good conscience keep them so high. We just know that they lost a lot. They're running back the same kids. And that they're going to be, again, a same situation of defense is great, but the offense is just lackluster. They're not going to have what they need to be a real threat in the tournament this year, if they even make it. So, I mean, them being here, very generous. To me, I would put them likely around the 16 or 17 spot. They're not this high. They should not be this high. Gonzaga. That's another team I'm going to squeeze in here. And this is a little controversial. Because I like Gonzaga. I do like them. But we're going to continue down this list before we go into Gonzaga then. Gonzaga is number 11 on the AP Top 25. In the coaches poll, Gonzaga's 12. But Arizona's 12 here on the AP side. 13 Miami, 14 Arkansas, 15 A&M, 16 is Kentucky. Don't know how. 17 is San Diego State. 18 is Texas, 19 UNC, 20 is Baylor, 21 is USC, and Villanova is 22. St. Mary's at 23, 24 is Alabama, and 25 is Illinois. Now, other teams that got votes, you have Wisconsin, Colorado, St. John's is definitely in the mix here because of the Pitino hire. UCLA, Maryland, Virginia, Auburn, TCU, Mississippi State, Kansas State, Xavier, Memphis, Missouri, Boise State, Indiana, Charleston, Florida, Drake, and New Mexico. That is all the teams getting votes right now. It's always this way in the preseason. It's never going to stay this way. Things always happen. Teams get worse than they should be, and you just get kind of stunned by things that happen. It won't stay this way. But let me hit the one other squad that I feel is overrated. I think I'm going to go with Gonzaga here like I was trying to say earlier. And the reason why is just, I just feel that they're a borderline top 10. They can be a borderline top 10 team. I got no doubts in that. But I don't even think Gonzaga is the top dog in their own conference. If I'm being honest with you, it's probably St. Mary's. The Gales have done so much in the last couple of years to make themselves a powerhouse basketball school that they're finally getting ready to pose a challenge to Gonzaga, and this might be the year they do it. Now, here's what it is. No Timmy, no Strother, but adding Nemhard and the return of Watson, it's not enough to help them. They got some good help there to kind of replicate the losses of losing Strother and Timmy this year. It's going to be a big challenge for them to rebound without having them. Because at least with Timmy and Strother, their offense could roll. They didn't have to worry about the defense. Everything worked for Gonzaga and flowed much more naturally. They were always more threatening and competitive that way. This case, no. I don't think these guys can replicate what they did or have the same level of impact. I'm sure the Gonzaga coach say, well, you got no idea what you're talking about. But listen, with Gonzaga, defense is important with them. They have been a good defensive team, and they're an explosive offense team. That's what they've been the last few years. This could be the first year we don't see that. Again, not a bad team. They're probably still going to the tournament. They're just not a team that I would put near the top 10 right now. There's too much uncertainty, too many questions with guys that they lost and how they replaced them that I wouldn't put them near the top 10. I've seen some guys rank them at like 19. And you know what? That's not a bad idea. I'd probably have them around like 17, but I definitely have them lower than 10. 11. They 100% have them way too high. They need to bring it down a notch and dial it down. Like, they really need to dial it down. Gonzaga, they're not taking into account what they lost and what they had to replace it with. So, obviously, voters need to be better with this. But I'll give you a couple names that kind of shocked me a little bit on this list. In the top 10 specifically. The first one I'm going to go with was in like the low end of the top 10. That's FAU. Florida Atlantic played such a good game last year. They had that big Cinderella run, and they just couldn't finish it off. Those Owls could honestly, they could obviously be higher, in my opinion, significantly. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people feel that FAU is not high enough because their name. Because nobody thinks of Florida Atlantic when you think of basketball. Nobody thinks of the Hootin' Owls as the, big name in basketball. So because of that, they're disrespected. And I think you could convince me that they could be in the top 5. You could convince me that FAU's in the top 5. I mean, their coach is on a long-term deal. The coach that brought him in last year. They secured all 5 starters from that team last year back for another run. Their bench is still solid. And even though they ran all that stuff back, it should warrant top 5 respect out of that alone. That same team that made it all the way to the Final Four last year, finished with 35 wins, they should absolutely be here. If you're going off like you do with everything last year, they should be in top 5. They ran it back. They ran it back with the same starters that brought them all the way to the Final Four. They locked down the coach that brought them to the Final Four. Everything is secured for their case to be in this conversation. And instead, they're number 10. That's disrespect. They're barely in the top 10 at number 10. It's disrespectful. That squad is a lot better than people think, and it's just they're going to continue to get slept on because they don't have a name like Duke. They don't have a name like Indiana. They don't have a name like Michigan State. They don't have a name like Michigan itself. They don't have Alabama. Like they have so many. It's actually sickening to see it. But you know what? We'll leave it be. We'll leave it as is. Another team I'm going to mention here outside the top 10 that probably could argue to the top 10 is Kentucky. Kentucky being at number 16, I mean, here's why I have them higher. It's one thing to just say it's just Kentucky. And I get it because, they're one of the most polarizing teams. Because they're number 16 in the polls, right? But the betting odds in Vegas have them at way higher. They have the second best odds to win the entire thing this year in Vegas. And that's among all the teams in college basketball. They have the highest odds to win the whole thing. Second highest. So Vegas is telling one story, but the voters are telling another. Voters are saying, yeah, there's like 15 teams better than them. But you look at Vegas, they're like, yeah, don't worry, 15 teams better than them, sure. But they're gonna be the second best odds to win. They're the backup option to win the whole thing. But yeah, look, I get it. Losing to St. Peter's in the first round a couple years ago was a disappointment that just, you can't overstate how bad that was for them and their program. But 22 wins and failing to make the next weekend of the tournament isn't performing, yes. But I don't think people understand who Sean Calipari is. With his back against the wall, you put him in a high pressure scenario. He's going to make something happen. And he has. He's got a very electric roster right now. Something that's going to get people out of their seats and make them change their minds about Kentucky just like that. In Lexington, they've got the potential number 1 pick in the draft next year, leading the way. And that is Justin Edwards. People are factoring a lot from recent failures into what the team will look like this year when they haven't even played a single game yet. They haven't done a pickup. They haven't done any of that. They're just in preseason, but they're just going off whatever happened last year. And that's bullshit. Because on paper, this is a top 10 from a talent perspective. And you can't write off Calipari yet. You just can't. You got to lay it out perfectly. Calipari is one of the greatest coaches in college basketball today and of the last decade. You cannot, in any circumstance, say, okay, Calipari ain't got it no more. Don't worry. Fine. It's all you. You just can't do that. Calipari and the Kentucky Wildcats are going to make some noise this year, and they're going to do some damage. You can't deny it. It's bound to happen. It happens almost every year that Kentucky comes in and fights. So you got to be prepared for it. Kentucky is not a pushover team. They never have been. The only time you could argue is that, again, the year I brought up against St. Peter's, when they didn't make it to the second weekend of the tournament, they got a huge upset put against them. That's the only time you can mark it. But they've got a really good roster, and they got a potential number 1 pick right there playing in the starting rotation. So to me, you can't write off Kentucky. It's not that easy. Kentucky's not a team that you look at and you say, they suck, they're not going to do anything. I don't remember the last time I had somebody tell me that Kentucky wasn't going to win a championship because they're not a good team. I never remembered any time where somebody had said that to me. They're not going to go that far because they're not a good team. Like, who are you to say that, honestly? Again, college basketball starts in a couple weeks. November 6th is when everything opens up. You'll have your opening slate of games to start out the year. But I'm going to add in here the Kentucky team. And I'll give you guys the rotation. You guys tell me if this is a bad squad. I want you to transparently tell me that this is a bad team. That's what I'm looking for. If you think it's bad, tell me it's bad. I'm pulling it up now. It's an SEC. It should be here. There we go. I got their roster. So you guys tell me if this sounds like, a bad team. We just talked about it. Edwards is considered a potential number 1 overall pick. He's coming in with a lot of expectations. The freshman guard from Philly is 6'8". A 6'8" guard is kind of crazy. They've talked a lot of good things about him, but a couple guys that are coming back that you should watch as well that have played well in their past, right? Well, let's see if we got a couple I can name. I think Thiero's one of them. Thiero has worked off the bench last year. He's looking to get more reps this year, but he's been more of like a service guy. Only a couple points average last year. He's trying to get a bigger role with the team at the guard spot. Antonio Reeves is back again this year as a senior. Averaged 14.5 last year. The year before that, he was averaging 20. It's his final year. He's got to make the most of it all. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him to do some good work. Onyenso is getting some attention this year from Nigeria. Sophomore. Last year didn't get much because, again, a freshman doesn't often get much attention. He's coming in. They've also got Trey Mitchell in this year. A forward. Averaged 11 points last year as a senior now from Pittsburgh. In his sophomore year, he was averaging the most of his career, which was almost 19 points a game. He had almost 18 in his freshman year. So now Trey is here with UK. If I'm correct, he was with West Virginia last year. So he transferred from West Virginia and came to Kentucky. He started out in UMass. His whole career started out in UMass. And his best years of stats were in UMass. And then he went to Texas, and Texas barely used him. They didn't use him as much as they should have. He was averaging only 19 minutes after having like 30 plus with Massachusetts. So he left, transferred again, went to West Virginia. 30 minutes a game, started getting his numbers back up again. Now he's with the University of Kentucky. We can get those numbers up again and try and make the best case possible so he can try and sneak in the draft a little bit. So he's got some pressure on him as well. Walker Horn, another guy. He didn't get much attention last year. He probably will get a little bit this year. He's a sophomore now. Another guard. I already told you guys about Justin Edwards to keep an eye on him. Grant Derbyshire hasn't touched the floor yet. He probably will not this year either. Brendan Canada touched the floor a little bit last year, but he's a senior. He's considered like probably a third-string rotational guy. I don't think he's a second-stringer. But that's where we're at. And how could I forget? Another big name. DJ Wagner, guard from Camden, the freshman. He's another name to watch. Kentucky has a lot of talent. And to hear somebody say that Kentucky deserves to be number 16 because of the history is just a bullshit cop-out answer. So I don't want to hear that. And there's one other team I'm going to consider underrated as well in this. USC. And I'm not saying it because, Bronny is there. I'm not saying that. Because going with just a cop-out answer like, yeah, don't worry, Bronny's there, they're going to be fine. Like, no, that's a stupid answer. I wouldn't say that. That's not the type of answer I would have here. Now, what I would say is that there's a good chance he may not play. We don't know what's going on with him. And if we're being realistic, it's because he's still in limbo because of the way he's working back from the cardiac arrest he had. He suffered cardiac arrest over the summer, and his status to play is still in question. So there's no guarantee he's going to play in the beginning or that he'll play at all. I mean, there's a lot of questions there. They're the only team in the Pac-12 that could actually attack and take down Arizona. They're the only team that has what it takes. Because they've got Isaiah Collier, who was the number 2 overall recruit, and they got a top 3 recruiting class, on top of bringing back their all Pac-12 performer guy, Boogie Ellis from last year, as well as Vincent Iwuchukwu, Kobe Johnson, and Josh Morgan. And then add on top of that, when Bronny James is healthy and ready to go, you could obviously have one of the deepest teams in college basketball right here. And this could be the most explosive. Because even without, let's say they don't have Bronny regardless, right? The Trojans have the goods inside and out to still be dangerous on defense and offense. Both sides of the floor they could control easily. I think 21's high. I think 21's low. My fault. 21 is low. And if I had to give them a spot, I'd probably say around 16 or 15 would be a good answer for them. But again, I can't control what the AP decides. They're going off again. Everything happened last year. They don't take into account what recruits they brought in because the answer is, okay, you brought in recruits, great. Just because it did good in high school doesn't mean they're going to do good in college. Which they're right, but the game can still translate over. That's where I think there's this little lost in translation mentality, this trend. It needs to be better. And again, I've got nothing but love and respect for the job that they do putting these rankings together because I know it's not easy. But to have USC at 21 is kind of disrespectful. I'm sorry. It's a deep roster. There's a lot you could do with this team. There's a lot you can do. And not having them here sucks. Collier is probably going to be the starter this year at guard. He'll probably be working with Boogie. Boogie will be mentoring him a bit. And you got Bronny too, so you got a lot of guards here. I don't know if Bronny's going to start out the gate, but dude, oh man. When he's ready to go, it's going to be crazy. Kobe Johnson, another guy who played really well last year, averaged just under 10 points, but he is another guy to watch. He's a junior from Milwaukee. We talked about Josh Morgan, 7 points last year. He's a senior coming back for one last year. And, another guy I could put out here is DJ Rodman. DJ Rodman had another good year last year. He is going into his senior year as well here with USC. He had about 10 points of his own. Again, these are just all guys that can really, really do some damage. So I don't have a complaint. I got nothing to say. These guys, this is a good, talented team. And I was talking about Iwuchukwu over the just a few minutes ago. He is a sophomore now at 7'1" forward, 5.4 last year, shooting 51 from the field, 2.5 rebounds. He was decent last year, did a good job as a fill-in. He was a rotational guy, but he did a lot of work coming off the bench. So getting him back is super helpful to their depth. So again, this is all about building a good depth and rhythm, and they've done that. But to be disrespected and put at 21, where you could definitely argue that they're above Baylor, that they're above North Carolina, that they're above Texas, that they're above San Diego State and above A&M. I don't agree with that. You could argue they're above all of those teams. But you know what? You know what? If that's how you want to be, that's how you want to be. I can't change what the voters think. Those are the only few that I disagree with right now to start. I got nothing else to say in that aspect. So, that's how I feel about the men's basketball situation. We're back here again. And that's going to close out the show. Again, we have done a lot of work. This is a very short show. This one was short today. But, again, we are trying everything we can to try to bring the most content possible, bring in more people to interview, and have some more creativity and fun with this show. So for those who checked in and watched the show with us here today, thank you guys so much. It really goes a long way in helping this channel. You guys giving us all this attention and watching the shows and watching the streams, it definitely helps us grow and get better here as a unit. So again, thank you guys so much. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing on YouTube or following us on Twitch. Either one works. We have all the social handles up here. Here is the Instagram handle, the Brian Mansell Show. You can follow me for updates here. On Twitter over here, or X as you want to call it now. X is another one to watch. X has been very, that's really where I'm the most active. You can see the most content there. That's where I am. And then also the YouTube channel up here if you guys can't see it. Right there. I'm going to try to point up. Come on. Right over there. That is the Brian Mansell Show. You can find that on YouTube as well. That's where we are. We'll be back tomorrow probably to recap some of this madness from baseball. Maybe do a little bit of preview. Maybe I'll do a live reaction and show you guys the YouTube video I make tonight that's going to go out. If coaches could speak their mind situation. I'll probably post that as well. You guys just keep an eye out for that content. That'll be coming out soon. But yes. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. And until then, have a great day. Enjoy some playoff baseball. Thank you guys so much.